for drinking? Drawing? What about laughing? Well, hold on to your donkeys. It's season 3 of the ComX Friday Night Drink and Draw. With your hosts Sizzle and Spetsy, plus Quick Nick, our esteemed regulars, and Australia's best-looking creators. Many of whom have books for sale at comx.shop. Now, let's get stanky.
Welcome to the 84th episode. I can't believe we're up to 84 of Friday Night Drink and Draw from ComX Studio. Tonight we are drawing Sherlock Holmes, and our special guest is Chris Sequeira.
Yes, and joining us on the show tonight, Sis, you are like the what do you call it? The mayor of what's the commissioner of the police? We're all like your detectives, ready to detect something or other. My name's Spedsy, aka Rob Lyle. With me is Detective Quick Nick Cleary.
Hello.
Is that you? How are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm excited about whatever antics you've planned for us tonight.
Yes, we have. Unfortunately, there are 3 murders have taken place.
Oh, boy.
But we will solve them by the end of tonight's show. So strap in. We will put our best and brightest on it, and we will find out. In fact, I think the killers might be in our midst. But until then, let's say hello to Jenny McIntosh. Welcome back, Jenny.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Alex.
Maybe what's going on?
Yeah, just saying hi. But you've only done it 84 different times, but this is the bit where we introduce.
I'm preparing myself for the 100th episode. Only 16 more to go. I can get it. Don't worry, Rob.
Nailed it. And below him is who we will come to know as Detective Nick Mayfield. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, Nick May's in the house.
G'day, everyone. My first case is who put me after Alex?
Somebody who just basically wanted to help you out to have like a good lead-in.
Good
Thanks,
lady.
Alex.
Yeah.
Case solved.
So there you go.
The first time on the show is a man I've followed for a long time. It's good to have you here, Andrew Law.
Hello. Nice to be here.
Next to him is, of course, a man who I've also followed for a long time, but I have met 84 other times. It's David Dye. Hello, sir.
G'day, everybody.
Hey, Dave.
Look forward to a good night.
And the man that the Terminator went looking for, but instead something Sarah Connor. I couldn't get to it. Rob O'Connor, welcome to the show.
Evening, everyone.
Hey, Rob.
G'day, Rob.
Great to be here.
Unfortunately, my brain process is just like Rob O'Connor. Okay, Sarah Connor. All right, just make something out of it, and then sometimes it just doesn't come together. Now, our special guest, of course, this episode is Chris Sequeira. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. Thanks so much.
Probably our most highly decorated guest we've had on the show. One of the only few to have a Wikipedia page. And I spent way too much time preparing a silly thing for tonight's show and not enough time preparing my creator spotlight questions. So get ready for a weird, loosey-goosey creator spotlight type thing tonight. But what we do, for those who are new to the show, is we go around the room, we talk about who we're here to talk about and who we're here to draw. And this week, of course, is Sherlock Holmes. So, Sis, we've had a bit of a run of characters you knew nothing about. Surely you know some Sherlock. What do you got for me?
Well, I know very little, but I cheated. I talked to someone who knows a lot. So,
Okay.
Good
and they just gave me a few little things. The original writer was Arthur Conan Doyle.
Oh.
He never described him as wearing a deerstalker hat.
That's true. That is true.
Now, if I can stop you for a moment, that means so one of your favorite barbarian characters is actually Conan the Barbarian. Is that right?
Oh, Conan.
Because, of course, the creator of Sherlock is Conan. Arthur Conan Doyle.
Sorry, Conan.
Sorry,
he
continue.
misinsulted on this post to me, so yeah. It's a typo, and I read it.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, and apparently there was an artist called Sydney Paget. Drew
Paget.
him with that.
Yep.
Okay.
Paget. Sydney Paget.
Paget. Okay. And it caught on from there.
Okay. Now, I'm the one that's allowed to cheat and read from a Wikipedia page.
That's
You're
not a
meant to.
Wikipedia page. Just as opposed to a personal message.
You're meant to give me your personal. Like, I was a 4-year-old boy when I first discovered my love for detective stories. But
Didn't
no.
happen.
Okay.
Can you read the script?
Yeah. Andrew Law, we were just going to mute you, sir, until we get to you, only because you're buzzing and burping and all this kind of stuff. Not actually burping. Your microphone is going. So we'll just put you on mute. We'll unmute you in a minute. Quick.
Yo.
Looking at you, mate.
Sherlock Holmes. I haven't read any of the books, but I like the movies. I like the character in general. When I was in London, I actually saw the statue on Baker Street, which is where his character.
Oh,
And I was pretty impressed by it. Like, it's a cool looking thing. And I remember thinking, like, this is probably as close as you can really get to the guy, to Sherlock Holmes, the fictional character. Yeah. So I'm
What
keen
about
to
the
learn
real
more.
character? How close can you get to him?
That'll teach me not to go to London.
Fictional character. Anyways, forget it. This didn't work.
Yeah, when I don't, I feel your pain, Alex. When I went to London, I actually went on a Jack the Ripper tour, and
cool.
while you were saying about the statue, I legit was going to ask, did Sherlock Holmes and Jack the Ripper ever cross paths? And then I realized one of them's real, one of them's fictional.
But which is which?
Nice one, too.
Jenny, do you know much about Sherlock Holmes?
No. Proudly going to say no.
So, like, nothing? Never seen a movie, a book, nothing?
Of course, yeah, I've seen the films. I've seen with Robert. What's his name? Iron Man.
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Iron Man.
Ellie McBeal.
Robert Holmes. That was his name.
Keep going. It's good. You'll get there.
Yes,
We got time.
Yeah. Anyway,
So-
Robert Downey Jr. Sorry,
Yeah.
was his name. I've seen his films and I enjoyed them. So that's about the extent of my knowledge of Sherlock Holmes.
Now, he takes his shirt off a lot in those movies. I haven't seen them, but I heard that he takes his shirt off a lot. Is that a thing, or am I making that up?
it's true.
I hadn't noticed.
For those movies, he does. Yeah.
Okay. Because he
That's
probably got
what his
ripped for Iron Man, but then had to wear a suit the whole time, so finally got to show it off.
Yeah.
Speaking
it
of a
depends
man-
what you want.
Speaking of a man who's ripped but never gets to show it off, it's my boy, Alex Major. What have you got on the Sherlock Holmes front?
Oh, geez, I don't know. Like, I couldn't tell you where first time I heard of him, but I have heard of him since I was a kid. But I'm not sure if I heard of him in Australia or abroad. So there you go. And then I know there used to be.
Keep going.
There used to be like a PC game. You could do solve detective thingies, and then I think it was on the Mega CD and PC as well, and then you get little video footages of him just walking around solving crime while you're doing all the hard work of clicking things, and then a video footage comes up of his, taking credit for all your hard work.
So one of our unsolved mysteries is that you don't know if you were here or somewhere else when
I first time heard him. Yeah, because I don't know if I heard, because I'm sure he's famous in Hungary. I don't remember having a conversation with anybody about him in Hungary, but I think I might have. I think I might have, but I'm not 100% sure. But I am aware of him. And also, like, I don't want to jump the gun. I do know that, like, if Chris wasn't here, I'd be talking about his comic right now, but I'm not sure that I should be bringing that up. So
you can bring up what you want to bring up. So
that'd be like
Don't bring up, please.
Sorry.
Don't bring up your
it
thing,
really,
mate.
Don't bring it up. Okay, I'll keep it a secret. Sorry.
No,
Chris
you
never worked
see.
on a comic. Maybe he has. Maybe he hasn't. I don't know.
Don't bring up
That's
your
for
lunch,
later
is
on
what
in
I'm
the
trying to
show.
say.
So please
Yeah.
stay tuned. All right. Anyways, before I make myself seem any more stupid on Sherlock Holmes, Nick, can you solve more mysteries
No,
for everybody?
hey, Alex, I'll do the
What?
hosting. I'll do the hosting.
What's going on?
Who says I was ready to go to Nick? I'm not ready. I was actually going to double back.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Because
I
I
was still trying to
realized
figure out when I've heard of. Are we still trying to figure out when I've heard of Sherlock Holmes the first time?
yeah, we're going to go back through everybody and find out if you were here or somewhere else.
Okay.
Sis, who would be your favorite detective? If you don't know Sherlock Holmes, who's the detective you like the most?
The only detective I know. Well, actually,
Columbo.
I know two, and I'd have to
Inspector
say
Rex?
out of the two, it would be Blue Beetle.
Oh.
Sorry, Nick. Blue Beetle.
The Blue Beetle, you say? Now, I am familiar with the Blue Beetle, but I did not know he was a detective.
Well, he's very good at solving things. I don't know if he's technically a detective, just like Batman's not technically a detective, but they call him a detective. But yeah,
I mean, he's from Detective Comics, so he does detecting. So
Yeah,
And he's the Dark Knight detective.
case closed, you guys. Get it?
because he does them after business hours.
I've been schooled.
In the DC universe, of course, Blue Beetle would be fairly down the list. You got Batman, Green Arrow, and Detective Chimp would be your top three detectives. No,
Fair enough.
Lancelot Link you're talking about?
He's a secret agent, Dave.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So,
what
so Rob,
about
you're going to ask other people's detective?
what
favorite
about
detectives?
Steve Ditko's The Question? Who was a Charlton Comics character and became a DC Comics character. He's a pretty cool detective.
He's
Yeah,
right.
it would be.
yeah, right. The question is the guy with no face,
No,
face.
Yep, the no face guy. Yep.
Yeah.
not to be not to be mistaken with Dick Tracy's no face.
That's right.
Guy.
Which yes. Or
Uh,
even that obscure Aussie character, the Mask from like the 50s or something. That I think Yaroslav Horak did the Aussie comic. Might have been a one shot.
Okay.
Oh, right. I've got.
What about the
comic-
Spirit? Is the Spirit a detective?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dick Tracy, of course, took inspiration from Minty Frisket, a little-known Australian creator-owned. Now, we have the creator of Minty Frisket with us in the building, Nick Meg. Sherlock Holmes, Dick Tracy, Minty Frisket. Give us something.
Sherlock Holmes, I believe, and Chris can correct me here, his first case was A Study in Scarlet, I think.
Right.
I have
That's right.
I've read the complete Sherlock Holmes, and I'm full. I was wondering if Alex was involved in a scandal in Bohemia, but then I recognised that Bohemia is not in Hungary, and that would just make me racist if I said that sort of thing. When I was thinking about Sherlock Holmes, I was having a conversation with my wife, and she said, "Oh, Sherlock Holmes, I'm pretty sure he was addicted to cocaine." And I said, "No, I think you're wrong, mate. I think he was addicted to morphine." And then we, had a bit of back and forth. So we looked on the internet, and one site said that he had a predilection for cocaine, and one site said that he was semi-addicted to morphine, and a third site said that there is no evidence to suggest that he ever used cocaine or morphine. So I'm glad that Chris is here, because it might save the May marriage.
Well, the correct answer is that he definitely was using injectable drugs, which were legal in his time period in London. Watson says to him, I think it's possibly the second story, The Sign of Four. Watson says to him something like, what is it today? Morphine or cocaine?
Right.
And I think Holmes says, I think he says it's a 7% solution of cocaine, which of course then got picked up and used as there was a novel called The 7% Solution, fabulous novel by Star Trek writer and director extraordinaire Nicholas Meyer, and that sort of theme has been used. But was he ever addicted? Of course, that's where the debate is. He used the drugs, and which were legal in the time, and Watson was quite concerned about his use of them. And then later on, in later stories, there's a clear moving away from what's essentially sort of portrayed as a bad habit. Back in the day, Holmes would have likely injected subcutaneously, which would have been the common way of doing back then. So he wouldn't have injected probably into a vein. He would have just injected under the skin, which would have been the way that users of that drug might have used it. So, yeah. So was he an addict? It's never said he was an addict, and he's not portrayed as suffering from a serious substance abuse problem. But there you have it.
I'm going to take from that, Chris, that I was right.
I've actually got the
casual recreational drug user. Then that's cool.
I've got the original text here in front of me. I can read it to you if you want. It says cocaine or morphine, and he says morphine. How about some fiend? Yeah. Now, Nick, if you need help saving the May marriage, a good start would be, when your wife calls you schnookums and whatever, you don't go, yeah, rightio, mate. Return
You told me to call her.
Andrew Law, let me unmute you. Oh, no, unmute. Clicking. Oh, you've muted yourself. Here we go. Do you know much about Sherlock Holmes?
Oh, no sound.
We can't hear you.
Lost you, Andrew.
Need a detective to find out what's happened to your Wi-Fi.
Someone get on the case.
Well, we'll double back to you, Andrew. Dave.
Yep.
You're a man who likes himself a good tale. Are you a detective reader of detective type stuff?
I've read all of them.
All of them.
I read all of them. Yep, every Sherlock Holmes I've read, and I love them. That's why I kept reading them. This is not the volume. This is a volume I've bought since. This has got the complete Sherlock Holmes, but the one I read was they were like $2 specials in the in the bookshop. They were only paperbacks, and I wanted to get something more substantial because they are just fantastic stories. You've got to read them. If you haven't read them, have a go at them. They are really good.
And I can see in Dave's copy that's one of the editions that has got the original Sidney Paget illustrations reprinted. Yeah. I can see them there.
Yeah, that's
really.
Or as Sizzle calls him,
quality of the art. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Now, Sidney Paget's depiction of Holmes sort of became the standard, and interestingly, he based his Holmes on his brother Walter Paget, who was also an illustrator.
All right. Well, I've haven't seen any of the modern Sherlock Holmes movies, but my favourite and always will be Basil Rathbone is, to me, Sherlock Holmes. And you watch the old Sherlock Holmes movies, to me, he is the quintessential Sherlock.
Look how thick that is, Dave. It's got that's got a few Pagets.
I've read all them. and
Are the
I've read his
pages
other
red?
books as well.
They are after you're done with it. Sorry,
It's from the murder. It's a murder weapon.
yours was way better. Are the pages red? Well read. That was good.
Ah, nice. That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. I'll give you that.
But yeah,
Did you open that book?
Derail the subject.
got my stamp of approval, that series. And Conan Doyle's a great writer. I liked all Arthur Conan Doyle stuff. He did go off the rail. Well, I reckon he went off the rails after his son died on the Somme, was it, Chris? But that's another story. Sherlock Holmes is great.
Mm.
He
Andrew,
did.
are you
He
with
did.
us?
Conan Doyle did come to Australia for a tour once, and there's a story in one of the biographies that when he was speaking at Sydney Town Hall, some strange woman yelled out, "You're Jack the Ripper!"
What?
And,
How'd she know?
I gather she was promptly escorted off the premises.
Because she was right.
Was it Rob?
Was she from Hungary?
They're the best.
Andrew, can we hear you?
Can we hear me? Can you? No?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? No? Oh,
Yeah.
you can hear me. Oh, wow. Modern technology.
Yeah.
It works.
Never want to be that one.
Do you know much about Sherlock Holmes, or who's your favorite detective?
We had books around when I was growing up, but I never read them. I was always reading the Peanuts comics.
Good substitute.
I was wondering where the name Sherlock came from.
No
I
shit.
don't know where the name Sherlock from. Now that he's,
Dave,
is he going to
looking
have
at
a
you,
zombies crossover?
Sorry, we were just admonishing Dave for swearing on the show. That's all right.
Did he
Sorry.
say?
Where were you, Andrew? Andrew, do you have a favorite detective outside of Sherlock?
Microphone again. Apart from Batman, no. I like the Batman based around detectives. The detective stories, not the superhero stories.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're better.
Yeah, sweet.
But
before.
yeah,
no, please.
No, I'm just waiting for the public domain to be the Sherlock Holmes versus zombies versus Predator versus comic event of the year.
That would be awesome.
Hell yeah!
So they've already done it.
Have they?
Yep. Wildstorm did Victorian Undead Sherlock Holmes versus Zombies.
No way.
That's cool.
Oh wow!
Spoiler alert.
Sweet.
I'm drawing an undead Sherlock at the moment.
Excellent.
All right.
Nice.
Mr. O'Connor, give us something about Sherlock Holmes and/or your favorite detective.
Well, that's
nice.
awesome.
That's good.
A bit like many here, it's one of those book series that I wanted to read but never did, because that it's important. These are important books to read, but yeah, I never got there. I've watched a lot of movies though.
Okay.
Basically, all of the Sherlock Holmeses.
Which ones? The old ones?
Not many of the old ones, but the Robert Downey Juniors and the Benediction Cumberbatches and all of those guys. I also remember one from the 80s called Young Sherlock Holmes, which was, I think they were kind of like first year uni students, and Holmes and Watson meet each other for the first time, and shenanigans and mysteries and corpses and cults and the whole shebang.
Mm.
But yeah, so I sort of remember all of those ones. So yeah, I've watched a lot of Sherlock Holmes, haven't read much.
Right. Do you have a favorite detective?
You can't go past Bats, can you?
Mm. Well, before we move on to speak to Chris, we're going to meet two other detectives. Gentlemen, put your hats on because a crime has taken place.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
So we're queuing up the music.
I'll just get mine.
Nice hats, fellas.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a tale of murder and mystery. Tonight on episode 1 of A Couple of Nicks. The killer is in this very room, as are the detectives. First off was a New York beat cop turned junior detective by the name of Quick Nick Cleary, whose catchphrase was...
Go bananas.
And his partner, a 79-year-old veteran of London's East End. Scotland Yard know him as Nick Mayfield, and his catchphrase was...
If you've got to bust a criminal, you've got to bust a gut.
Arriving on the scene, Nick May was quick to notice the first clue as he exclaimed,
Gadzooks, man! Look at that!
The clue was that the victim was killed after being force-fed sugar cubes. Quick Nick Cleary himself was heard to exclaim,
Well, he was once sugar high, now he's sugar low.
And of course, Quick then uncovered that the victim was a Russian politician and former intelligence officer. Meanwhile, Nicholas Mayfield called to his partner.
Oi, mate!
He had found on the ground a colored substance that chemically bonds to the substrate to which it is being applied. Quick Nick gasped.
Dolly!
For on the wall, he saw the Daredevil logo was scrawled in blood. The two detectives discussed the clues they had found and revealed the killer.
We got a pair of double Ds, bloody double Ds, some sugar cubes. What was the other one? Some sort of mixture of
a colored substance that chemically bonds to the substrate.
Like substance.
Right. Okay.
Like I'm only the offsider here, detective, but I feel like the criminal is just under our noses.
Could it be?
Do you dare take a guess?
David Dye.
You're pointing at me.
Are they correct, David?
I'm getting out of this town before you. I'm on the lam. I'm getting out of here. Yes,
Too
you
late.
got
The
me.
two of us have you surrounded.
Oh, geez. All right. Lock me up and throw away the key.
All right, gentlemen, remove thy hats. Alex, what are you doing, mate? Why have you got your hat on?
Oh, you gave me lines.
For crime number 3.
Oh, shit,
Away. How did you narrow it down to me?
Sorry, wrong hat.
We're gonna spread this stuff
that's
out.
right. Yeah, I am crime 3. Oh shit, sorry. I didn't read properly.
Again with the swear words. I'm looking at you, Alex.
Oops, I didn't mean to say shit. Sorry, guys. Is that still a swear word? I thought they declassified that as a swear word.
Well, speaking of S words, let's talk Sherlock with Mr. Sequeira. Chris, you chose tonight's subject. Why?
Well, I thought in terms of picking a pop culture character and one that's had a decent presence in comics just as much as any other medium, that from whence he started from literature and then going into film, he's had a very good run in comics. And myself did a comic book version of the character that was published by Black House Comics, first of all, in Australia and distributed in newsagents in Australia. And then later on, it was then reprinted in internationally by Caliber Press, picked it up and took the first 4 issues as a trade paperback and published that for a while. It's the rights have come back to me in the other. We called our version Sherlock Holmes Dark Detective, and the rights came back to me and the other guys who worked on that, and it'll be coming back again in an international edition with the company that I'm actually editor-in-chiefing for comics, which is IPI Comics, which is a subdivision of IFWG Publishing International. So, but Holmes has always been an absolute obsession of mine with comics, books, movies, whatever. And I sort of regard the character as really significant in that makes me look a lot better than I usually do. I regard the character as actually quite influential to comic books because he was probably the first international smash series fiction character because you had the novels, but then he really became popular in the 1890s because late 1880s and early 1990s because of short stories that came out in magazine format every month or so, and he'd do about a dozen of those. And Arthur Conan Doyle tried to drop the gig because he was getting bored, but they were just selling and selling, and the publishers kept offering him obscene amounts of money, and he couldn't turn it down. So, but a lot of series tropes come straight out of Sherlock Holmes.
Right. Yeah. What's there's some sort of story about that Sherlock Holmes is in the public domain, but a happy-go-lucky Sherlock Holmes or something like that?
Look, no, that was with the American law, the situation is a character falls into the public domain if the predominant characteristics of that character from the stories or works about that character, if the predominant characteristics fall into the public domain. So if you've got a bunch of stories that were published at one date and the predominant characteristics are all in the first 5, say, and the date has passed on those first 5, then the fact that there's another 5 stories that aren't in the public domain yet doesn't stop you from using the character as he appears in the stories that are. And with Sherlock Holmes, that was the case, cut and dry. And my friend, the American attorney Les Klinger, and Sherlock Holmes expert Les Klinger, and also he did the annotated Neil Gaiman Sandman and the annotated Watchmen and the annotated Frankenstein. He's a literary buff and scholar as well as an attorney. The Conan Doyle estate in the United States tried to stop people from publishing it and saying that every now and again they tried with Enola Holmes, and they tried with the Ian McKellen movie Mr. Holmes about Holmes in retirement. They tried to say that, they're using some little aspect that's in one of those last half a dozen stories that haven't hit the public domain yet. So you got to get money. And really, if I can be blunt, it was pretty much just a legal shakedown because basically they would do it and the studios and stuff would go, what do you want? And they'd go, $5,000, $10,000. And they'd go, well, we're going to spend more on lawyers than that. Here it is, go away. But this year, the last of the 60 stories went in the public domain, so that's all over.
In your workings with the character, did you have to tiptoe around those things at all?
No, we did 2 things. We actually, Black House Comics made a deal with the estate, actually made a financial deal with the estate, but we pretty much were staying away from that stuff. And look, we were doing a chronology that started around about 18. Our storyline started about 1887, so we weren't touching on any of the last couple of stories that were in the older kind of thing. So, so was that Happy Light Shamrock E? What the hell?
Smiley go leaf.
What?
Smiley go leaf.
Smiley go lucky.
Oh, happy go lucky.
Happy go lucky. Right. Yeah,
Only
okay. Yep.
Boo.
Said ComX
Yeah.
watchers, not people on the show.
So,
Yeah.
so anyway, Sherlock Holmes is now unequivocally in the public domain.
Okay. Now, Chris, why do you think you like him so much? What drew you to him?
Look, I had my key experiences with the character at a very young age. I was watching repeats of those 1940s Basil Rathbone movies that Dave was referring to. They used to be repeated on the ABC TV late at night, and my dad had let me stay up. And when I was a little kid, let me stay up and watch them with him. And they were quite mesmerising. They were very, very clever. Even though there was 13 of them, and 11 of them were Poverty Row Republic style things, but they just had great atmosphere and great scripts. And Rathbone was just amazing in the title role. And so there was that. And I think I read the complete Sherlock Holmes in the school library around the same time, and it sort of fascinated me from there. And and it's just sort of that stayed with me.
Yeah, right. Well, while we've got Chris talking, why don't we do what we do? And
now it's the part of the show where we shine a big shiny spotlight on one of our creator friends. This week, we welcome
Name
and talk about their creative journey. Please, everybody, make some noise for
Name.
Yes, of course, our guest is the man in the bottom corner thingy there. I was scared to say his name again, but I'm going for it. Chris Sequeira. Nailed it, hopefully. Chris, so you have quite the career to go back over. Take us back to the beginning, I guess, when you first fancied yourself as a storyteller and how you got your start.
Look, ages ago, I think the first thing that I actually got published in was there was a little Aussie collective, a very short-lived but infamous Aussie horror comic called Fantastique.
Mm-hmm.
And when those guys were out there and trying to turn that into a business and looking for contributors, I started hanging out with some of those people. And I think I got one story I scripted was published, and I think I contributed to another one, and I wrote some reviews in the movie review page of that magazine. So I did a little bit of stuff for them, and that was basically then that thing came to an end, and I thought, well, that's enough for me. I'm thoroughly activated now, and I haven't stopped ever since. I went on a journey of both self-publishing and looking and pitching and trying to work for other people. And I've been doing that in every single version you can think of. I published my own comics that were distributed to newsagents Australia-wide under a moniker I created at the time called Opal Press Australia. And we did a few comics, mostly a horror series called Pulse of Darkness that I wrote, and a Sydney-based artist who was on Fantastique called Kurt Stone. He did the pencils for that, and then we did another spin-off with another character of mine called Rattlebone, the pulp-faced detective. And he was like, and that was a news. Rattlebone in all his ugly glory was an Australian newsstand comic. There was so he was basically like a cross between Sam Spade and the Phantom of the Opera. He was basically sort of this delusional Australian detective who sort of effected all these mannerisms of a Humphrey Bogart tough guy, and yet his face looked like it had been through a mincing machine. So we were playing around with a few different things there, and then I took a bit of a break, and I was editing a horror short story magazine for a few years called Terra Australis, and reading hundreds of stories a year with a couple of other guys and publishing the best of them. And then I got back into comics again at one stage. Alex, around the time I met you, I did those sequence comics, and we published about half a dozen Aussie comics through newsagents.
I remember that was with Chewy.
Yeah, Chewy did one. He did the Borderlander, which was a mystic superhero that me and Steve Proposh wrote. Yes, Phantom of the Opera. Very good. And what else? And yeah, then I started to get a little bit of work in the United States. I did a couple of about 3 stories for DC Comics, and I did on and off. I've done a couple of shorts for Marvel Comics. I did an Iron Man once with Chewy Chan again, which was really cool because you're not really supposed to come in the door with your artist mate. That's impossible, right? But I love the impossible. Like I was told, nobody gets work at DC Comics unless they actually meet an editor face to face. I broke into DC Comics through the mail, right? Sending stuff for ages through the mail. And an editor who was reading my stuff said to me, you sent me a pitch. I don't really like it for what you want to do with it. How'd you like to write an issue? But how'd you like to use the same plot for this new comic we've got based on a TV show that hasn't come out yet called Justice League Adventures? So it was on the Justice League animated stuff. So they sent me all this cool stuff before the show started, all these sketches and designs, and said, just rewrite it and do an issue of that. So but I like people saying you can't do that. I'll try and do it. So that was fun. And what else? And so so Chewy, who's been a pal of mine for forever. We pitched something to an editor at Marvel who's since gone on to different things, and he just really liked this sample thing we sent him. He just loved it, and he said, I'm going to try and get work for you both doing the story, and he gave us an Iron Man story.
Wow. When you say you were sending stuff constantly to DC, what sort of stuff were you sending?
Look, mostly like one page, what they used to call springboard. So that would be like a 1-page idea for a whole series. And so you do the beats out for a whole series. So you really had to sell it in that 1 page.
Yeah.
Damn, what a pressure. That's cool.
One of the things that comes up a lot in your resume is your editing work. I wondered if you could give us a little bit of like the importance of an editor. I think lots of people maybe underestimate the need for one, particularly in novels, but in comics as well.
Look, there's sort of 2 main roles that an editor has in either comics or mainstream sort of prose and short stories. And one is there's the actual wordsmithing and interaction with the talent to take a piece and I guess make it print ready. So you might have a comic script that needs to be reviewed before it goes to an artist, or you've got a short story or a novel that needs to be reviewed before it goes to print. And there's a process there of reading it and giving notes back to the talent saying, this is a bit rough here, or I'm not understanding what's going on there, or whatever. So there's that sort of phase which sort of happens from the middle through to the end before publication. But then there's the other part, the other job that an editor has is the front end, which is actually making a decision. We want to do that story. Yeah, we want to publish that. Or it could be in comics, it might be I want to do a comic or I want to do a collection of short stories, and I'm inviting people, do you want to try out? And then they give me a 1-sentence or 1-paragraph pitch, and I go, yeah, that'll work, or no one's done that yet, let's go with that. So that sort of conceptual thing at the front end. So they're the 2 main tasks, and I guess I do both. I line edited word for word, word by word, a novel that we released at IFWG last year called Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in America, and I worked intimately with that guy for all the corrections on that. Louis Lowy, and unfortunately Louis died today, unfortunately, at the age of 71, which was very sad of leukemia. This was his 5th novel that he did for IFWG. Brilliant guy, great writer. Just lovely. And but we did the whole wordsmithing and tightening, and there might be a scene here or there. I was saying, I'm not thinking it's hanging together perfectly to get across what you want to do, Louis. We had a couple of Zoom sessions, talk about it. I'd swap email notes, and we get that down and blah blah blah. But I also did the whole, page 1 to page 300 line edit. Every comma and blah blah blah. So I've done that. I've done the conceptual. Here's the concept. I'm looking for 15 different stories on this. I put the call out, and then people audition with a 1 sentence or 1 paragraph thing, and they go, yeah, that's great, or no, that's not quite doing it for me, or someone's already done it. Let's talk a bit more. So I've done that, but also with comics, I might have a script and I might review it, and I might go, well, the storytelling. What's going on there? Is that a? That looks like a. Is that a Portuguese chicken? What's that?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, it's kind of a Portuguese chicken.
There's a very cool Portuguese food chain in Sydney called Frangos, Frangos, and I swear, Nick, their logo looks very much like that.
All right, what's it called?
Okay,
Frangos, Frangos.
I hope it's in the public domain, Nick.
Yeah, Frangos, if you want to be a sponsor in the show, just contact us at comx.net.au.
Yeah.
We'd be happy to have you. Chris, tell us a little bit about Sheba Sugarfangs.
Oh, look, that was really cool. I got a shot. The editor in charge of the X-Men office some years ago, I think it was about 10 years ago or something, or 8 years ago, Janine Schaefer, she gave me a shot at doing some X-Men stuff, and she said, look, we're going to be doing this stuff. It's called X-Men versus Vampires. And we got a couple of one-shots with spots for 8-page short stories. And would you like a shot at one of those? And I said, sure. And she gave me the brief, and I went away, and I think I came up with 3 ideas. And it was like, cool, because it's vampires and it's horror, because I love horror, and I've done a lot of work in horror. And Pulse of Darkness was a vampire series. So I pitched the ideas, and the one that they loved of the 3, and they were pretty excited about it when talking to me, was this idea about this secret sect of vampires that we hadn't seen in the Marvel Universe before. And I wanted to model their leader on Pam Grier, from what's that Tarantino movie? The one based on the Elmore Leonard novel.
Yeah.
You all know. Anyway, she was a blaxploitation movie star in the 70s. She was in very cool movie about a female protagonist called Coffee, Coffey. Great, really cool actress. Anyway, so I wanted to model it on her, and these vampires were sort of stuck in a time warp. They were sort of at the mental. There she is at the mental, and the artwork for this was by the brilliant Japanese artist Sana Takeda, who's killing it with that monstrous series with Marjorie Liu.
Yeah.
And I met Sana at a San Diego Comic Con a year or 2 after that story came out. So that was really lovely person. But basically that's it. There we go.
That is a disturbing logo.
That's what it looks
happening?
Yeah, that is weird.
That's
it looks like somebody just ripped the nose off somebody.
That's right.
Who said okay with that?
Yeah, so that's how that story came about. So this was a secret sect of vampires, and the whole event, the Marvel event that was mutants versus vampires, I thought that caused such a ruckus that I had the Dazzler character in the X-Men, who was in San Francisco at the time, a city that I've been to a couple of times, me and my wife love San Francisco. And I thought, this is perfect. San Francisco, Dazzler's a really cool character. We don't always see the tough side of Dazzler, but and the smart side, because she's a lawyer as well. So I thought I wanted to cram all that into a story with high octane vampires from the 1970s and disco balls and crazy stuff like that. So they let me do it, and it was like Sheba Sugarfangs and her multi-ethnic vampire crew. Studio 13.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, thank you so much, Chris. But unfortunately, if you can hear the music building in the background, it's been another Moyada. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have a tale of murder and mystery tonight on episode 2 of A Couple of Nicks. The killer is in this very room, as are the detectives. Young upstart Nick Cleary was a playful scallywag with a biting wit. He often playfully insulted his partner with barbs such as,
"Hey, Nick, you're ugly."
But the veteran detective Nicholas Mayfield always had an equally biting retort.
"No, I'm not."
Two detectives were called to report to a murder scene. Once they arrived, Nick Cleary was heard to exclaim,
Go bananas."
It was then that he noticed that the victim had suffered from a case of death. Nick Mayfield noted that the victim had been the captain of a ship. Mayfield had this to say about it.
Everything's not ship-shape around here.
Meanwhile, Quick Nick had spotted the name Jenny scrawled on the ground in blood. He shrieked like a young child. Lastly, Mayfield noted that the victim had been robbed, and he exclaimed with his catchphrase,
"Oh, rob!"
The two detectives discussed their findings before revealing the killer.
All right, I know how it works now. So we've got the word Jenny scrolled somewhere. If you hit the word Rob pretty hard during a sentence. What else we got to work with?
A ship.
Ship, yep.
Oh, yes. And of course, the natural death that occurred. I deduct that the creator of Death Ship Jenny, the comic, may have had something to do with this, or someone who's read it. It was probably Sizzle. I reckon it was Sizzle. He sells it. Yeah.
A stunning accusation. Your final analysis, your final call is?
It'll be Rob O'Connor. Robert O'Connor.
What say thee, Rob O'Connor?
Yes, that's all I can say. You guys are right.
I'll
get my vote.
Papa.
That, ladies and gentlemen, was another episode of A Couple of Nicks. Now, for those playing at home, detectives often referred to as dicks. A couple of dicks, a couple of nicks.
Got it.
Okay, that's where we were going with that one. Because jokes.
The double D is not Dave Die.
What's that?
It was.
Double D is not Dave Die, or was?
That's a whole episode ago, mate.
That was an episode.
No, but it's a callback. It's a
You're
callback,
watching
so
the same
people can
show,
go
or?
back. Now, like people who are not watching this live are gonna. Oh, I've got to go back to the first one.
Oh, I see.
Now, I appreciate that picture of me as a vampire, Nick.
Yeah, huh?
Because amongst the Sequeira trivia is the fact that I got married, myself and my wife got married 20-odd years ago, very odd years ago, and I was dressed as Dracula and my wife was dressed as the Countess Dracula, and it was the first Elvis Presley wedding in Australia in 1999.
Wait, there's a lot to unpack there. You were dressed as Dracula
Ooh.
and Dracularette, and somehow it was still the first Elvis wedding.
Because the celebrant was dressed and performed as Elvis Presley. It was the first time that had been done in Australia. Everyone at the wedding was costumed.
Wow.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
awesome.
Is it at
what a
Star
wedding that
City?
would have been.
So how does Elvis
Like a
and Dracula? What's the connection there?
Well, man, they got capes.
Apes.
Yeah.
You ain't nothing but a hellhound, dog. Yeah. Got it. Sis, should we take a look at some artwork? Being this is called Drink and Draw, there have been people at home drawing while we've
Yes,
been
there have been.
supposedly drinking. So, well, I'm sure you're uploading some, so I'll get a head start if you like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Or, yeah. We will start with Janet Locke.
Oh, that's nice.
Really
Oh,
good,
nice.
Janet.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And
Good
check
work,
out the
Janet.
names of the buildings.
Oh, of
Yeah.
course, this is
Oh,
Tony
that's right.
Menzies' lady friend, isn't it?
Nice.
Is this the
Well done.
Holmes to
Yeah.
the Watson to
Well done.
Tony's Holmes?
Do you have a wife?
What's up, Holmes? Am I putting my foot in
Well
it?
done,
Janet
Janet.
Locke
That was
is
great.
connected to Tony Menzies, right?
Yeah.
The silky voiced man himself. And then one from Chris.
Now, that one, I sent you 2 pictures. I sent you that, and I sent you a thing to compare it with, which is that's
straight
just
underneath
my
it.
that's my
Okay.
little
Oh, I
sketch.
see. Yep.
Moriarty.
A
That's
homage.
inspiration.
I got you.
That is.
Homage.
That's my 5-minute homage to Brave and the Bold, the strangest team up in history. It said on the cover. So I thought, what's the Sherlock Holmes version of that?
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome.
What is the deal with
Well done,
Moriarty? That's like his arch nemesis, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Oh.
Nice.
Got to the bottom of that. And
Another
now
case solved.
a man that you have worked with, Chris, Gary Challoner.
Yeah. Now
Oh, Gary.
this is from a book I
Very
put
good.
together called Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Was Not, Parallel Universe Stories of Sherlock Holmes. And Gary did the illustration for Sherlock Holmes meets Dr. Herbert West Reanimator. And this
Okay.
is Holmes dies and is reanimated by Herbert West.
Wow.
Really? Oh, wow, cool.
Right.
Okay.
Rad image.
And that story was written by Will Murray, an American writer who's written a million things, but he's sort of like the world's leading Doc Savage expert and current keeper of the flame of the Doc Savage franchise.
Mm.
Right, yep.
Chris, did I also read that you've worked with Alex Maleev and Greg Capullo?
I haven't worked with them, but I've met Greg Capullo and I met Alex Maleev very briefly once, but I haven't worked with them.
You've been in the same book or something with them. Or
I was
edited
in
their work?
I was in that DC Comics 9/11 Artists Respond, which had like 1 million guys in it. Yeah, so that might have been it. 9/11 Artists Respond Volume 2. I did a story with Canadian artist Tom Grummett.
Right. Looks like it was Queensland flood relief appeal.
Oh, no, you're right. Me and Tim McEwen put that book together. That was my idea we raised 10 grand for the Queensland floods, and it was sponsored by Supernova, and that was all one page. It was 32 one-page stories.
I was in that book too.
Chris Claremont. Alex is, yeah. I'm just reading it. I'm like, Chris Claremont, John Samariva, Alex Major.
Yeah.
What's up, no?
Plot twist.
Paul Mason, Jason Paulos, Nick May. No.
And it's got a fantastic cover by Stuart McKenney. Did the fantastic cover. That one's called Tides of Hope.
Yeah, right. Colin Wilson, Tom Taylor, Ben Templesmith.
I can't get one now. Oh, you have the book out? 'Cause I've got one. I think I have it in my little shrine of stuff.
Go get it
someplace. All right, cool.
Go get
I'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. See you.
I don't know why Okay Bye was so awesome, but
He's the murderer. He left.
come back here, you. Neil Blandon with some Sherlock Holmes.
Oh,
Loving it.
Good on you, man.
Oh, that's so cool.
That is
Playing with
cool.
those checkers.
That's wicked.
That is amazing.
I always hate it when I do the art and the next one to click is my art, but this one's by me, you guys.
Oh,
Oh,
That's
very
nice.
nice.
Love it.
Good
Nice
work. That
Very
guy.
debonair.
Yes.
You nailed it.
No
Dapper.
detective turtle there, mate.
Yeah.
What?
No
No
detective
Trelawney.
turtle in that shot. Thought you might have
Ah.
snuck him
Yeah.
Like him in.
Michael McConaughey. All right, all right, all right.
in. Oh, all right.
That's fun.
Hell yeah.
Very good,
Really good.
mate. Well done.
Does anyone know what Ketty is?
Hat
Or the reference?
matches.
I thought it said Kerry.
Could be. Should say
And
that
that's
one.
Doug.
isn't it?
That's
K-E-R-I.
Sizzle. That's Kerry and Doug.
Let's run with that. We got a Uber fan.
Self-portrait, Rob.
We got Janet Locke's man friend. It is, of course, Tony Menzies.
Ah, wacko, mate. Well done.
Not bad, Tony.
Mr.
Very
Wayne.
good.
We got Tony's
Not bad for a
inspiration.
beginner.
Yeah.
He ain't bad for a beginner, is he? Wait till
Smashed
you-
it,
not
Tony.
at all.
very cool.
Dan May.
Ah,
Dan.
oh, well done.
That is
Good work,
wicked.
Yeah.
Dan's
That's
telling
nice.
stories.
So cool.
I love the light, the lantern light.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love,
Yeah.
the,
Glow.
I love Nelly
Yeah.
No Chin up the back there.
Yeah, I love the bell shape of his whole body. It's really fun.
Yeah. Next one, we got Peter Lane and Mike Nason teaming up.
Mm.
Oh,
right.
okay.
Hello.
Guy
Wicked.
Holmes.
Nice.
Could be a Sherlock Holmes and Sky crossover coming up, you reckon?
Yeah. Pete, did you draw that and Mike coloured it? Hit us up in the comments.
He did the roughs and Mike did the inks.
Okay.
Right.
Great work. Because, yeah,
Very
Pete did
good.
say he's picked up the pencil again recently.
Good
So
work,
that's really
Pete.
cool. Awesome. Hugh McGowan.
Oh, Hugh.
Nice.
Good on you, Hugh.
Yeah.
Well done,
that's
mate.
great.
Oh, that's cool. I like the
Very
pose.
good. Action pose.
That's
Yes.
wicked.
You've got a pen in one hand. His
Well,
quill.
I might as well send mine.
Oh, yeah. I've got so many drawings of mine from when I was a kid where I would like draw two guys next to each other, and I'd end up having to draw one guy just randomly standing on a box because I wouldn't pencil, I would just ink straight away, and I would like finish their legs and realize, oh, one guy's like hovering in the air compared to the other guy standing on a box. Davo 77.
Yeah, good.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome as always.
Davo.
No boxes in that one, eh, Rob?
No what?
No boxes
No
there.
boxes.
Oh yeah. No, that's because we're dealing with seasoned professionals.
Yes. Yes.
Speaking of, one that's in this very room, a killer, in fact, Rob O'Connor.
Ah.
Ooh,
Really nice.
Ooh,
yeah.
framing.
Tilt
Framing
that.
is so
right.
nice.
No,
Yeah.
that is
It just
great.
adds like edge when it's tilted like that. It's very cool.
That's really good, Rob.
Oh, cheers.
And Rob, that the wall there, that's just the paper color, isn't it?
Yep, that's just the paper.
Oh,
colour.
wow. Okay, that's
Hell
cool.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
very cool.
That
You
is
do that just
ingenious.
during the show, Rob?
I drew Sherlock beforehand, just so
right.
that I had that nailed, and yeah,
Yeah.
everything else was tonight.
Yeah,
That's
good,
wicked.
mate.
Excellent.
Look at
That's
the
Cool.
There's a
the
lot in
water
that.
stains underneath the window ledge.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Got
Wicked.
water stains beneath the mirror. Very cool.
Nick May in the house.
Good one, Rob.
Oh,
Hell
Well
yeah.
done, mate. Down to the Baskervilles, eh?
Yeah,
very
baby.
nice.
Beautiful colors. I love that the
Yeah.
bricks are revealed in the silhouette.
Yeah, that's pretty damn
Just
cool.
I can't remember who I've ripped that off from, but thank you to whoever it was.
Nick, amazing. Well
That's
done.
really
mate.
cool.
Cheers,
Old
Debbie.
Saddle Slap himself, Robbie Donaldson.
Robbie, good on you, mate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
What's that?
Cyborg.
Yeah.
Holmes
Sherlock Holmes, the cyborg
from the
years.
future.
Yeah.
That
Saddle
is
Slap, tell us
crazy.
the backstory of this person.
Got any pipe stuck in his hat?
I want to know more. Oh yeah, that's wicked.
Very good.
That is very cool.
Yeah, very futuristic Sherlock.
Awesome. Well, we're at the 1 hour mark, which is when we start thinking about taking her home. But we got another crime.
I'll send something through. Hang on.
Oh
It's
no, we
coming.
ain't done. Jenny,
Oh,
don't
good.
panic. We ain't done.
Good.
We got hats to put on.
Another crime.
I'm on this one.
Ah, look at that, Chris. You got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a tale of murder and mystery tonight on episode 3 of A Couple of Nicks. The killer is in this very room, as are the detectives. See? Why is my music stopped? Surely it will start again. There we go. Nick Quickleary and Nick Mayfield have been called to the docks, the scene of another gruesome murder. Quick had this to say about the smell.
You, what stinks?
To which Mayfield quickly replied,
I'd rather not.
being that it was nighttime, Quick was quick to note that the murder had taken place in the dark. But Nick Cleary phrased it in an overly complex and wordy way.
It's not daytime anymore.
A baffled Nicholas Mayfield noted that upon the victim's chest was a single crystal. Not to be outdone by his young partner Nick Mayfield, he reported the crystal finding in his own overly complex and wordy way.
Have a look at this crystal, my good man. It is manifested in a way that is most unusual and yet morbidly fiendish.
Woo! Speaking of overly wordy, along came a Hungarian dock worker by the name of Alex Major. He exclaimed,
When that dead fella, the one that is recently deceased and whatnot, I done seen him on the TikTok once. I got banned from there just recently. I'm on Instagram now. Follow me at Ichigo Smell. It's over there. There goes my Hungarian face. It's not racist, I'm Hungarian, so it's okay. But that dude, that guy, I know him. That is William Gates.
otherwise known as Bill Gates.
End scene.
And with that final clue,
Sorry,
the two
continue
detectives...
scene and my bit of the scene. Sorry.
The two detectives discussed their findings before revealing the killer.
All right, run me through it, Nick. What are we working with?
Well, as it turns out, we're working with some form of a crystal, some form of night, darkness. We are working with TikTok. I think that the criminal has revealed of themselves.
What say you, couple of Nicks?
Who's got a guilty look on their face?
You could take this one, Mr. May.
I would, except that I know how angry you get every time I solve the case before you. So I have one thing that I'm able to do.
Yes.
Gone. He left.
I'm going to call on my new sidekick, Rob Lyle.
Make the call, quick. Your captain is waiting. We need a prisoner in custody. It was during the dark. There was a crystal on their chest, and the murdered victim was called Bill Gates.
A dark crystal. That's going to be my girl Jenny.
Yeah.
But how does Bill Gates fit into the situation?
I did my half, Mr. May.
Because Jenny is always looking through windows.
What say you, Jenny McIntosh?
Macintosh.
Oh my god!
Lordy.
You got me. You got me.
Guilty.
Twas I. Twas I.
That concludes.
Obscure mystery tales.
Wow.
Fancy focusing on the TikTok part when the killer's name was Bill Gates and her last name's McIntosh. Come on, detectives.
You
Yeah,
solved it.
come on. I left
What
it for you
about?
right there, guys. Jeez.
Wait, Bill Gates was the man. I thought Bill Gates was the dead guy.
Order in the court. First one to speak is a monkey.
All right, let's take a look at some more artwork, shall we? With a piece by Andrew Law.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
Well done, Andrew.
Yeah.
Very good, mate.
Andrew, I've been following you on various platforms for what feels like about 10 years. I've been a fan of your work for a long time. Your eyes, you're drawing your eyes as well, but your illustrated eyes.
Your eyes.
Mesmerizing.
See it now.
Mesmerizing. Excellent. Now, Andrew, one thing we do is someone new on the show, we get them to sort of introduce themselves and all that sort of stuff. Being we might be having technological difficulties, we'll give it a try. Can we hear you? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, no.
Yes, no.
Can't hear you, unfortunately.
Use sign language, Andrew. Picture. Act it out. Charades.
It's all right. Well, we've got a final segment of the show where we talk about our stuff ourselves and whatnot a little bit. So hopefully, maybe you'll come good by then. In the meantime, Sis, do you mind if we maybe dance a little bit?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Rob. Before you hit it up, the today's dance is kind of based of the acoustics of the opening song that you have. Do you have just the instrumentals of that? Because I think it might work with that one.
You know what's crazy? I downloaded 2 songs for this segment. One is by the same band that does the intro.
Oh, okay.
So let's go with it.
Yeah. Does the band know that you're using that music, or
it's free stuff because I don't want us to get copyrighted. So it's free YouTube music. Just to stick our heads behind the curtain live here. But what we'd like to do here on the show is turn this drink and draw show into a dance and draw show, courtesy of Alex Major. So for those playing at home, let's dance. Where is the thing?
Hey, look at this.
For people that don't recognize this character, it's Piper from Kayleen's Blue Light Rebellion from Western.
Oh, excellent.
Cool. I think she's a regular on the show. She's missed, so come on, back on too. But anyways, figured out to get some webcomics.
Oh yeah.
Last week.
But before we get into this,
Dancing. That's the one.
And remember, folks, the like. and subscribe.
Yeah.
Ring the bell.
Yeah, it's good somebody else say it. I said it too often. Now Rob's turn to take over the reins.
I like it.
Yeah, I just want to take credit for more things, Alex.
No, it's not taking credit. It's just taking over responsibility.
Well, that's how we do that. I tried to fade it out, but it wouldn't work. So, hard ending. Couple of nicks.
Yeah.
For those playing at home, if you want to see a couple of nicks return next week, please subscribe to our Patreon because I don't know. All right, let's check in with Mr. Dave Dye, who we like to solo and find out what you've been up to.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Dave.
That's right.
That's so
That is brilliant.
Wow.
That's really
fantastic.
cool.
Very classy.
Love it.
Tell us about it,
Yeah,
Dave.
very classy.
Just a bit of graphite on paper, really.
Really?
Right.
Yeah, that's about all. That's Basil Rathbone. I copied a photograph of him.
Hell yeah. So Basil Rathbone played Sherlock at some point?
Yeah.
From 1939 through to in the middle to the 40s, 2 big budget movies and 11, I think it was 11 or 13 low budget movies.
Right.
Yeah. Those old movies were only about an hour long. Is that right, Chris?
That's right. They were one of the cheapest studios, but they were great because they had really atmospheric sets and great actors and really clever plots.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I like it. And I'm the same as you, Chris, because that was the first time I really was introduced to Sherlock Holmes. And I think I watched probably the same shows in the 70s, or I think it might have been. They were on telly on Friday nights. And that's where I got interested in Sherlock Holmes.
I mean, the thing about Rathbone was if you read any of the short stories before or after, you've got this feeling that he just walked right off the pages onto. He was just the personification of the character. It was perfect.
Yeah, that's right.
And really not until there was a good Holmes in the 60s, and one of my fave actors, Peter Cushing, and did some stuff for the BBC for about a dozen episodes. Some of those are lost forever, though. The BBC bad habit of erasing their tapes. And the Aussie Nick Tate's in one episode. The Aussie actor Nick Tate's in one of those Peter Cushing episodes. But then later on, Jeremy Brett did a whole bunch of them for Granada Television in the UK, and they were amazing as well. But they're probably the 3 big sort of very close to the personification of the characters in the books. Although Nigel,
who was that last one you mentioned? The last actor,
Jeremy Brett.
Oh, okay, I don't know him.
Yeah, he did a TV series that ran for several years, and he had 2 different Watsons because one guy left after about a couple of years and because he wanted to do something else.
Yeah, nice.
We have our own lost tapes situation here in Australia. There was we've lost. It's not a joke, Dave. I know. Unfortunately, I make so many jokes that when I talk seriously, it's people don't take me seriously. No, but lots of episodes of Countdown, and there's a whole game show or something that's disappeared because some place wanted to decorate the front of their business with film reel, and they basically took all old VHSs or whatever and pulled them all apart and decorated the place.
Really?
And, whole seasons of shows disappeared.
Cultural vandalism.
Yeah, and like there's episodes of Doctor Who
that's a way
that
of
don't
calling
exist anywhere as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the BBC were notorious for doing cheap things like reuse. They used to reuse tapes. They used to tape over.
Ah, wow.
Yeah. I think the ABC might have been guilty of doing the same thing.
Well, let's take a look at what is probably our final piece of art for the night. Jenny McIntosh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Poor old Sherlock's been on a diet.
He's got to solve the
Yeah, it's
crime
not
of his
looking great.
own death.
A diet
It
of
doesn't
brain.
look like he's smiling, but he's confused.
Yes.
There's a
He's like
question.
happy to be here to solve the case, but he doesn't know what is going on. That's
Well, yeah, what if zombie Sherlock had to solve the mystery of his own death?
That's cool.
That
This
would
thing
be
writes
cool.
itself, Jenny. Get to work.
I'm on it.
Public domain.
Very good, Jenny. Very different
Yeah, excellent.
and well drawn.
What do you think, Sis? Should we talk about ourselves a little bit?
Yeah, we should.
Let's do it then.
This poor person is looking through the newspaper for info on what projects our artists have been working on. And this lost individual is using a map to find where she can follow our artists on social media and buy their books. How about we save them the trouble and just tell them? We call this next segment Shameless Self-Promotion.
Citrus.
From the failed comic shop comes a superhero, Citrus. Yes, thank you. And we're doing a pre-launch campaign on the ComX shop, and it is 3 different stories, 3 different styles, 1 hero, and that's Citrus. All from different perspectives, all from different perceptions. So it's a lot of fun. It's a continuing series. It's going to be exploring different creative teams' interpretation of the hero.
That's cool.
Hell yeah. My stuff you can find at psychojanitor.com. Do a bunch of comics and stuff. On my social medias, you can find at Spedsy. But some of my favorite collaborators have a new book coming out. I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but it's this thing. So as you can see, the first drawing there is by Ben Sullivan, written by Hayden Spurrell, 2 of my favorite collaborators. And then in the middle there is Peter Wilson's take on Citrus. Gentleman who I've been in 11 different comic books with. And then another person I've collaborated with and highly enjoyed, Ryan Vella, who does a story and art on a 3rd Citrus story. So you'd be silly not to go to the ComX shop right now and get on the Kickstarter that is not a Kickstarter.
Not a Kickstarter, it's a pre-order campaign, and it's a 20% discount for getting it in the pre-order. It'll go up to the normal price once the campaign's over.
Absolutely. And the success of this one means more issues to come. And Sizzle is a big supporter of artists and writers. So get them gigs by supporting this book and then support. Something. Unity Communities. Quick, tell us about your favorite detective.
My favorite detective is my own. I've created a Budgie character that I plug every so often called Detective Budgie. There's in 2 books at the moment. You can buy them both through the ComX shop. There'll be a little bit more Budgie on its way soon. I'm working on the 3rd book. I've got some big news. I think next week I'm going to be starting to really push, I think, if all goes well.
Oh, awesome.
So in the meantime, here's my latest quick to be or not to be elementary.
Oh, wow.
Jenny, talk to me.
Talk to you about my favorite detective.
But just to Nick, ignore us, ignore everybody else, just to Nick.
Yeah, or you can tell us what you've been up to, where we can find your work, what you're working on.
Sure. Yeah, great. Well, I am an horror artist and graphic designer. That's what I do full time. And you can find me under the handle Jenny McIntosh. It's pretty much anywhere you can find me on Instagram, my website, Facebook. I also have an online store as well where I sell my own original artworks, and each artwork comes with a little signed signature on the back saying thank you and a little drawing just to say extra thank you for that. And I've just been busy working on new artworks for the year. I've got some conventions coming up, especially in April. So I'm getting ready for them and exciting times for 2023 at the Jenny McIntosh brand.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Exciting times at your house, Alex. What's going on? Just got back from the
find
docks.
that comic. I don't know where it is. I mean, I know where it is. It's under the bed someplace, but I couldn't find that comic I was in with Chris. So, but you saw my name in it, so you know.
Don't know where it is.
So
Do know where it is.
Back. Yeah, but if I can't, I couldn't show that comic, so I'll just remind people that you can still buy Presents Noir. And I don't know how much are we talking about with the new Sidrus books coming out, but if there's cameos of plenty of other of your favorite and maybe less not so favorite artists, but there's other artists in the book too that you should. We'll keep it a mystery, so you should buy it and then find out and then tell all your friends about it and make it go viral. So there's that. But then also, like, if you guys see this beanie, I'm wearing this beanie here. It's not just for criminal. Oh, there you go.
There it is.
That's Dave Yarden did the cover, right?
No, that was Stuart McKenney.
Oh, Stuart McKenney, was it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Gary Challoner did the back cover.
Flip it over quick.
Don't have that.
Yeah, so anyway, so just you can see this little logo. I designed that for Felipe Esparza, who's that one there. So you guys can see that logo on if you look up for What's Up Fool on the Apple Podcast or All Things Comedy. That's my drawing on there. And then also if you watch it on YouTube, he's got a little animated intro. That's also mine. So he's doing a lot more interesting stuff, but I'm a little bit involved in that, so you guys can see my stuff there.
Good stuff, mate.
Leave messages. I know that guy. He's great. He also has a YouTube.
Alex does fantastic work. His cartoons and that is just professionally done and superb. There's no other word for it. Great stuff, mate.
Oh, thanks, Dave. So Dave's just threw me off because I don't know how to reply to that properly.
We got to shut you up, don't we,
mate? You got to shut me up somehow. Other than that, I think let's go on to Nick May. That's down. That's down. So I go down to Nick. We disagree on shoes, but I think we're starting to be simpatico on other things.
True enough.
Yeah. So Nick, please talk because I need to stop talking.
I'll just wait. I've been struggling as a cartoonist, and so tonight I've officially quit, and I'm now a full-time detective. So if you go to @Chernobyl on Instagram and you go looking for cartoons, I'm really sorry. I've taken them all down. I'm now accepting cases. You'll note tonight, I'm going to say that we had a 2.5% strike rate. Okay. I'm actually back in the cartooning business if Dave's got some of my stuff. Very hard to find.
Put the hat back on for a sec.
Yeah.
And take it off.
I'm not your puppet, mate. Sorry, Rob, are we going somewhere?
No, I just wanted to do a thing where, then you go, we're going to go back and forth, and music on, music off. But
yeah, I'm a detective. I work it out. But that's probably enough about me. Andrew, let's hope that we can hear you now.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There he is.
Can I throw this out now, Andrew?
Yes. Put it up there anyway, mate.
Oh, it's too late, Dave. Just
while it's working, Andrew Law Art, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube. Awesome.
Hell yeah.
All I had to do is swap iPads.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
Well, we'll have to have you back so we can get your whole story.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks. It's a fun show.
Mr. Dye,
It would have been more fun if you had been able to put more input into it, mate.
No, it's fun. Enjoyable.
I've got some comics available in the comic shop, so if anyone's interested, they can have a look at that. I've also got my comics in Owner Indie. See, Andrew, I have a sign. Spell it out, people. People can see it carefully written sign there. And also, I think I mentioned last week that I was working on this. Did I? Revenge. It's a Rick McLean story.
Okay.
I've finished that's the last page, so you don't take too much notice of that. That's the spoilers, but these are the draft pages. I spoke to James Broadhurst today. He's over in WA. He's the writer. And we nutted out a few little things. The text highlighted there are a few items we had to discuss. But that may be a little bit on the back burner. It's put on hold for a little while, but it will be happening soon. So that's the next thing I'm working on. That's enough from me. Over to Rob.
Right. Well, Deathship Jenny, of course, which was nicely used as part of a murder scene this evening. Can be found at the ComX store. Let's see. Yeah, we've got my Insta, which you can just that way. See over here. Other than that, there's a couple of things on the boil which are quite quiet, but they'll become noisy at some stage or other. But I can't talk right now.
Sweet.
Oh, look at them.
Oh, nice.
I've got the full set, but I only grabbed 2. So that's the ones you got to get.
Yeah, the other one's under Alex's bed.
Dave that's what Dave likes to come sometimes like, Dave, what are you doing here? I'm just putting my comics.
Where I store them. They're not in my portal, they're under Alex's bed.
Chris, where can we find your books and you and all that?
All right, if I can do this. Well, what am I doing?
It disappeared. There we go.
At ipicomics.com, you will see announcements about the various projects we've signed and we're going to be releasing. We've bought back the rights of Queenie Chan's The Dreaming, and we're doing new editions of that worldwide and new material as well. And we've got 2 or 3 other projects on the website that are coming up once they're written and drawn, that we've contracted with creators like Jason Franks out of Melbourne, Steve Kilby, the rock guy, who's doing a fantasy series for us. Behind me, you can see a whole bunch of superheroes, and we're finally doing the international release of the Super Australians book that we did a pre-release at conventions in Australia. We're actually now going to be publishing it. Jan Scherpenhausen, as I speak, the guy who did both covers, is drawing 20 extra pages with a bit of a hand from Aussie comics legend Bruce Mutard. So that'll be out, and that'll be about 140 page book available in bookstores Australia-wide. And internationally, that'll be out by the end of the year. We're going to preview that probably at cons in the middle of the year. Anybody like Kolchak the Night Stalker? I have a book that I dreamed up with the licensor for Kolchak, and it's called Kolchak Nosferatu. So the ultimate TV vampire slayer meets the first TV vampire slayer meets the first cinema vampire in a collection of all original short stories from Moonstone Books in Chicago. That'll be out this month, I think. If you Google Kolchak Nosferatu, you'll find the cover on Google somewhere. It was in the Diamond previews in December. So really proud of that one. It's got 26,000 word Kolchak written by me and a bunch of other short stories, including by award winners. And yeah, just lots of other comic stuff. I'm doing something else I can't say anything about till the middle of the year, but it's a 4-issue mini-series for an American comic book company, one of the big science fiction franchises. You all know it's a household name, and that's really exciting, but I'm not allowed to say zip until they tell me I can.
Bloody spoil sports.
All right. Well, I think we did it, Sis.
We did it.
They put a hard task in front of us. And
Got me again.
That expression is kind of like
Yeah.
Put that hand there. I reckon it'll fit that drawing.
It's got a real Portuguese turkey about it. Or chicken,
It does.
whatever it was. All right. Well, speaking of Portuguese chickens, that's been our show for tonight. We will be back next week. Next week, we will be drawing ... Fill in the blanks is.
I think it's pronounced Mira. Mara?
From Aquaman. Aquaman's
Aquaman,
lady
yeah.
friend. Yeah.
Didn't we do Aquaman the other week? You getting buddy back again?
Yeah, back in the water with you, Dave. It's Aquaman's lady friend.
Aquaman.
Okay.
Aquaman's lady
So,
friend.
boobs and bubbles next week on the show.
Okay. That sounds all right.
Turn me up.
I'll turn up for that.
All right. Well, until then, imagine that I say something funny now, and we'll see you next week.
Nice.
Thank you very much for inviting me on, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Chris, Andrew, stick around. We like to chit chat after the show. All right. To everyone else, see you next week.
See you next week.
Someone should call the police. The show has been murdered. But in 1 week we will rebuild it. Better, stronger, faster. In the meantime, head to ComX.shop and powder your chestnuts on a copy of Detective Budgie by Nick Cleary, Amazing Tales by Dave Dye, Vamoose by Nick May, Battle for Bustle by Lee Chalker, Radical by Ed Kearsley, Sluggish by Spedsy, Crimson and Rascal by Peter Wilson, ComX Presents featuring so many of the creators that have appeared on this show. And so much more. Alright Sis, press the button. End the show. Don't make me butter your biscuit. Sizzle, press the button. Sizzle? Sausage sizzle.